All right, family. We live with the general. You already know what time it is. We got some five topics on the menu for this Friday, May the 1st. We're in the house, family. We're gonna be talking about today. The matter of fact, I'm in the Aryan. Wow, I didn't came right into the Aryan. Let me bring up my jump right on in. Not a problem. Yeah, we're gonna be dealing with the Aryan invasions, not a problem. Let me get my map together. There we go. We're not elevated already. So there we go. Before we get started, get over there to Patreon. We got over 605 uh live streams. We highlighting today, man. This is all powerful. I want y'all to get over there and check it out. Ancient Egypt and West African connection, continental glory, showing you the intricate spiritual connection, cultural connection. People acting like West Africa and East Africa didn't have this connection, and that, but it was very special relationship, a very special and intimate relationship between West Africa and East Africa. Get over there and check it out, family. Before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe, click the like, and you can leave comments. And we would like to hear your feedback. Now let's get right on into it. We're talking about the Aryan invasions that destroyed Kushite civilizations all through Asia. And why is this necessary? Because today, see, the thing is, when we look at America, we got to understand what the Caucasian only been over here about 200-300 years. You understand what I'm saying? About 200-300 years. But somebody coming in the last chapter of the book and have no history of that which preceded the white man, they assume that this is the way it always been. You see? And 100 years, 200 years. If you don't got no history predating America, you wouldn't have no idea that African people had great civilizations on the continent. So when you go into the Middle East, when you go go East Asia, you see, when you go into East Asia, see, a lot of them, what it looked like today. If you go back just 300 years, 400 years, you ain't got to go back no stretch. You see, you can go back and understand that. If you go to America, let's just deal with America. If you go back 100 years and compare 100 years to where we is right now, it's damn near like light years. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. 100 years and now, motherfucker didn't have no TV. Barely had. I don't even think they had. If they did, only one person on the block had one. It was a black and white, and it was about big as a refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? But no telephones. Shit, cell phone. Nobody, when I was coming, nobody know nothing about no damn cell phone. Niggas did. They used to have, when they did start having, they started with the, like the military phone. Where they had a little box on the side of it, and then you pick it up, and that's how they had it. They didn't have no damn the cell phone, the Androids and the iPhone. They didn't have that. You see, you had to, you had the phone where you had to dial it. You had to turn the dial on the motherfucker. You had to turn it. Shit, that's how you did it. Then you started getting the push buttons, and so just 100 years. You go back 200, it's like, man, you in ancient history. If you go back 200 years and listen to your ancestors in the South, you wouldn't know what the hell they was talking about. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say in a derogatory way. I'm just saying language is always, especially with black people, because we vibrant. You see, we vibrant. That means we always add, and we the most innovative people on the planet in language. We got more languages than any motherfucker on the planet. Straight up. We got more if you just take Africa got more languages than any continent. But even when you come into America, when you see the different vernaculars we got from east to west, south to north, how many different dialect, little slang, and man, you see. So if you just go back 200 years and listen to your African ass talk in the South, you wouldn't know what they was talking about. Damn near. You'll understand some things, but for a large, you listen to some Gully Geechee today, and you be like, nigga, what you say, nigga? You know, not being what nigga? What is you trying to say to me? So it's you know, that's what it is. That's what it is. So why am I saying that? Because so when you look overseas, a lot of people, when you look at peoples like North Africa, the Arab just got there 700 AD. People think the Arab is ancient. He's not even ancient in Africa. He ain't even ancient in Arabia. Really, the Arab is an AD people. They are AD people. They don't have no history worth of nothing preceding the Quran and Muhammad. That's just it. That's when the Arab come into history. Muhammad. Preceding that, they just some desert dwellers. No books. They just on camels, whatever they trained in Arabia. They wasn't international. You see, they didn't have that type of, you know, you had the African, like today what you got the Bedouins, and you see what I'm saying, and things of that nature. The African ones was the ones that was going back and forth between the great civilizations. See, them ones down there in Arabia, they was in Arabia. They was in a little local, you know, market, you see? So when you look at Africa, you go back, even when they first came in, it took them a long time for you look up in North Africa and see now today you got all these Arabs and shit. Yeah, that's over 1,000 of years of them piling in, but they wasn't all in there at once. You go back 1000 AD, that shit's still black. Still black. Yeah, they coming in, but it's still black, way blacker than what it is today. You see, you go back, if you go back 1500, still blacker. You see, but now they done piled all in because they know they know the ramifications of staying out there in that desert. So when you go over even into Asia, you see, today what you see, and well, connecting Arabia, Mesopotamia, Iraq, Iran, also Iran. And we're going to talk about that because in ancient times, ancient Iran, Elam, was in the Mesopotamian fold. Okay, it was in the Mesopotamian fold. That was his greatest influence. As a matter of fact, when you look at Susa, the capital of ancient Elam, it was on the Mesopotamian plain. That means when it flooded, when the Tigris and the Euphrates flood, Susa would also flood. You see what I'm saying? And that's a good thing because then all the soot, the fertilizer, this is where they grow their food. And so that's why they chose Susa, being on the Mesopotamian plain, because then that means they're going to have flourishing crops. You see, you go anywhere up further, you're going to be in the rocks and shit. So, so the ancient Iran, which we're going to talk about, is a part of the Mesopotamian fold. It was black. Even the Bible said that's Nimrod. Nimrod, the son of Cush, is the founder of Mesopotamia. Period. Cushites. Kushites. No Aryan is in that at all. Nowhere. They just came in there. Indo, and they call them Indo-Aryans. That means they went in first. They kind of split at first. You had tribes that went down into India. You had tribes that went down into what the southern Mesopotamian basin, and this was when they took over in there. You know, they went down, and, and so in India you get these Brahmins. You see, you get these Brahmins, and so even though Brahma is like they try to consider him the chief deity, and he's a Caucasoid deity. You see, he's a Caucasoid deity. He don't got no ancient temples at all in India. Go look it up. Even though he the chief deity, he has no ancient temples in India. So they brought him in, forced him on the people, and then they came in and with the Aryan, then they started a little of what they call the Zoroastrianism, where you see flying on the wing sun disk. It's more than that. It's more than that. You see, so that just show you that not only the Kushite, but Egypto-Kushites heavily influenced all them areas, all the way to India, past India. You see? So these Aryan invasions, for a lot of people, they try to play with the dates. But you talking about somewhere around you're talking somewhere around about 1,000 BC, they start coming down. That's after the Ice Age. You see, after the Ice Age, and a lot of that ice, them glaciers had started to melt. Then they saw the light. They say, let us get our ass from up here before that shit come back. And so they start coming down in droves. Some went into East or West Asia, which they call Europe today. And when you look at the facts, you will see all these civilizations start to collapse around the same time. You see, even Greece collapsed. The ancient Greece, not the ancient Greece, it collapsed. A lot of them civilizations, because now they coming down. And so we have to understand that there's many great eras of history that exist long before. I mean, just we talking about era after era. This is the latest. Well, it's not the latest, but most of what you seeing today is a part of the last great invasions in the world, or these Neanderthals coming up out of Europe. And this is why what you see today. These is not the originals. These is the digitals. These is not the originals. And when we begin to and go back to who we are, we can understand that even over here in the Americas. You see, they ain't beat us nowhere. If you, imagine that. Imagine that. They saying damn near 80% of the time that people been on the planet been in Africa. 80% or more. Matter of fact, I think it was more than that. It was damn near 85 to damn near 90% of the time that man has been on the planet has been in Africa. Period. That's a fact. And this would explain the advanced technology that you see, such as the pyramids. It is no way that you could be that advanced to put something like that on the planet without having, man, listen, that's 100,000 years couldn't get you that. 200,000 years, that is at least 500,000 years of architectural development. You see, at least 500,000. And most of these people ain't got a history that go back before 0 AD. They don't, that's why they start right there, 0 AD. Didn't nobody tell them that's when they came into history. So they say 0. This is where we start because this is the only time where they can precisely date what the fuck they was doing. You go before that, you don't have anything. You don't have everything before that is mythology. If you go into any of that, it's going to be a mythological origin. Where in Egypt and Africa is no mythological origin. It's a factual individual like Narmer. You see them Narmer. You see the palette of Narmer. You see the king of Egypt, the first king of Egypt. You go to the king, the first king of any other civilization. It's a mythological king. You ain't gonna have no evidence. Guarantee you. Look it up. Look it up. So why am I saying? So when people look at what's going on over there today, the war in the Middle East, Iran, people looking at like, oh, you got some of y'all got some affiliation with the foreigners. Y'all got some, this is what I'm saying when you rooting for Iran. I say, well, nigga, what about the black people that was there before they got there? You don't know nothing about that because you have an Islamic fantasy. A lot of y'all niggas got Muslim backgrounds. You got an Islamic, you got a rabbitosis. You got a rabbitosis. That's what you got, nigga. You got a rabbitosis. Let me get that back in there. Yeah. Yeah. But so remember, you got to have a timeline. You got to have you got to have a damn timeline and make sense what you because a lot of our history has been erased today. A lot of our history been erased today, and we got to go back and fetch Sankofa. We got to go back and fetch and make it make sense. So we just getting started today, family. Take this and build on it. You can see the map back there that show you, and they was even further back up into Russia. That's really where they came from, up into Russia. But anyway, family, I appreciate y'all. Make sure you get on over there. Patreon, Ancient Egypt and West African Connection, Continental Glory. Check it out. It's gonna blow your mind how many similarities in West Africa and Egypt, proving continental connection. All right, family. See you in a minute. Black Power.